And now,
introducing the one, the only.
Now let me introduce to you
lively talk with successful people, barely filtered. This is the Jenna Ben Show.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning into the Jenna Ben Show, guys. I'm here with Francis Ngannou, UFC #1 heavyweight. I'm so excited to ring in my brand new studio with Francis Ngannou. I mean, he is so loved and respected by the fight community, but I don't know how to tell you. I'll let him speak for himself. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jenna. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really happy to have you on. As you can see, my studio is finally launched. I'm still making some edits, but I am really thrilled to have this space and hopefully have you here in person one day.
Your studio looks pretty good. I mean, basically for someone who just a first studio, it looks pretty good.
I have more stuff coming, and yes, I'm very excited. As you guys can see, if you're looking at this video right now, I have Frank Shamrock's 3rd championship belt from the UFC. On the other side, I have gloves from a very good friend of Francis's, Uriah Hall, who actually sent a message for you. Not only did he tell me to say Wakanda forever, but he also texted me saying, I love Francis.
Wakanda forever.
Yes. He told me to say, I love Francis. We're like really good friends. Every time we pick on each other at the PI, I'm always speaking to him in an African accent and we're laughing and making fun of each other. He's a cool guy. He's like a little big brother.
Yes, that's cool. That's true. We always talk with our African accent. Like,
yeah.
How are you, my brother?
I love it. He makes fun of me in his accent too. So Uriah and I are going to do a fight segment called Fight or Die on the show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The name is actually really relevant to him, so I'm excited to share that and hopefully have you on as well.
Of course.
Yes. Okay, so Francis,
sure.
Here on the Jenna Ben Show, we talk about my friend's life story, basically, the progression of your professional career, how you got to achieve success, you know, basically what brought you to become the #1 UFC heavyweight right now, and, you know, past, present, future type stuff. So before we dive in, though, you're 34 years old now. I want you to take us way back to when you were a boy. What were you like as a kid?
Ooh. That is a very vague question. Like,
were you wild? Were you silly? Were you quiet?
I was very quiet, very lonely guy, and you know, since my parents divorced, I was 6 years old, and then I always live somewhere that I was treated differently. So I took time to like step back and think about it, because I moved from school to school. I never really have a friend, neither at school or at home, you know. So that's made me become a lonely boy. Like, but I was so thinking about the situation, what's going on, what's went wrong, what did my parent did wrong or something like that. But I had a dream who was to like prove myself and become a world-class boxer, because action was always my favorite thing. Like, my friend would rather go play soccer, but me, I love movies, actions, fighting stuff, and they didn't like that. For them, that was brutal.
Okay, yeah. So then I read somewhere that gangs tried to recruit you, but you said no, you wanted to do boxing instead.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't a boy that time. I was almost a man. Like, when you grow up in a certain community, and when you are around some certain community and look big and strong, you know, there's always people who want to take advantage of your physique
Mm-hmm.
or stuff like that. But by the time I was already settled of what I want to do, I it was clear in my mind what I want to do. How I didn't know yet, but that was what I wanted to do. Plus the fact that you know, those people never end. They never end where, you know, they will rather end in the prison or get shot or stuff like that. And that wasn't something that I was interested by. I loved myself so much to even picture myself in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm. Did your father, I heard somewhere that your father kind of got involved with like the rough type of life when you were younger?
No, he didn't get involved. My dad didn't get involved with some type of life, but he was just like uh, couldn't control his power, couldn't control his I think his ego, or I mean, I think he could have been more responsible, and which is what he wasn't, because he was fighting all over, beating everyone up, even us at home. So he kind of have some reputation who wasn't good at all. And then when my parents got divorced, that's where I was able to hear people truly talk about my dad, because nobody could have tell him that straight up, you know. Then I had to hear that from another people somewhere else, and then I was ashamed of that. I was ashamed of my dad, of the situation. Then right away, I was just 6 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew right there what I would don't want to become. I don't want to become like my dad. I don't want to have his reputation, and that has been my drive.
Interesting. It's so, see, we don't give
Mm.
kids enough credit. As children, I remember like soaking in so much information, and then people would be shocked when I would talk and make sense out of it all. But yeah, you figured out exactly what you didn't want to be when you were young. And it sounds like you made good decisions for yourself, even though you had a really rough start. So I did my research and I saw that you ended up in Spanish jail at one point for crossing the border illegally. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that was almost like the accomplishment of the project. The project was leaving Cameroon to somewhere that I will have more opportunity for whether it's work or sport, and chase my dream. For myself, it was basically about my dream, who was a sport. So I left Cameroon, and then country after country, just travel, work, or whatever transport we use. We end up in Morocco. Then it took it took me almost 1 year in Morocco to travel to Spain, and then when we went to Spain, we got caught in the water, and then they put us in jail for about 2 months, and from there they free us.
Wow. So
And that's where I went in Paris.
what was the jail like over there?
Um, he was psychologically tough, you know, like like they take you out there, and then take all your freedom, and like just put you in a small cage, like tell you what to do, what time to shower, what time to sleep, what time to eat, what time to this. And I mean, at first when we get there, we were very happy because finally we were there. Like after a month and months of suffering in Morocco, trying to cross all this miserable life, everything that we've been through, we were happy to get somewhere that we can eat clean, sleep well, and but after weeks pass, we started get like feeling bad about it, like a lot of pressure and get getting crazy. It was tough
Wow.
because it wasn't like a regular prison. It was a center of I don't know, center of concentration, something like that. So it was different, way more different about the prison. It was a psychological prison. They want to break you mentally down, and then maybe you could tell the truth about where you truly came, where you truly are,
Oh,
and they
wow.
can check and send you back in your country. Because when we get there, we don't tell where we are from. Otherwise, they will send you straight up to your country, and all your effort will be vain.
Wow. Okay, so let me get this straight. You went there with no passport, obviously, you were traveling illegally. So then they were interrogating you, trying to figure out where you're from and if you're a terrorist, essentially. And you had to stay mentally strong and not give them any information because you had finally arrived to your destination and you wanted to stay there. So you knew that you couldn't tell them where you're from because then they would deport you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they they didn't treat us as a terrorist. Like they just knew that we are um, migrant
Mhm.
and trying to go to Europe, because that's a process. There's a lot of people there doing the same thing uh, for years and years now. So we were in the first, and we were not definitely the last people. So they know exactly that we were just another vague of African wanted to go to Europe and trying to work or something. They knew that, but at the meantime, since they have a European Union has a program to stop the progression of immigration. So they are trying so hard to really find out where you are from, and if ever you have any kind of ID on you, then they would deport you straight from where that ID said.
So you didn't bring your ID.
So we make sure. Oh no, we make sure to not have any type of paper, anything that can serve for clue. We don't give them not clue at all, and you have to say that and keep the same thing over and over, telling the same story over and over, maybe for about 2 months. So it was kind of like a mental game.
Wow, you are so strong. I don't know if I would have lasted one day. So,
Yes,
how
but
did you?
at the end, everybody like almost get crazy, you know. At the end, you just want you get at some point that you feel like you just want them to send you back so you can be free finally. Like you have a lot of pressure in. I think that's kind of a thought cross your mind a few times a day, and then you came back to the reality and realize that if you go back, um, that that's mean all your effort that you have done, all the suffering that you have been to uh, has been didn't help for nothing. So you want to make it worth it, So you keep on going, you try, but every day, every hour is counted. It's very tough.
So, what did you do to pass the time?
Nothing. Nothing. We had like a we had like maybe 1 hour out each every day, and they call that in Spain they say pacho. when they say patio, we know, okay, it's 1 hour out, and we will go out sometime, like just grab a clothes like this and play like soccer, because we didn't even have soccer. Um, um, we didn't even have a soccer ball, nothing. I mean, the purpose there was just to make us like, to break us mentally. So
Yeah.
they want to make you guys crazy. So we, I don't know, we try hold up to into it until we get free.
Yeah. Damn. After this, you were homeless for a while.
Yes, after this, I went in France. Since I didn't know nobody in France, I was homeless in Paris. But I was very happy, though. I think that is one of the best moments in my life. You know, like the apogee. After being through all this type of suffering, after being through all this process in 14 months, you end up somewhere that you're free. Yes, you're homeless, but it's it's better than sleeping in the forest in Morocco. It's better than find yourself in the desert in Morocco or Algeria. It's better than being in jail in Spain. So, and that was kind of like the other side of the fan. So you're like, okay, I'm homeless, but I'm in the land of the opportunity. This is what I've been looking for my entire life. It's time, you know. So you don't have to like complaining about like have not having a place to sleep. Basically, when you know that it's just a matter of time, you need to find your way, and it's possible. That's the most important thing, knowing that it's possible to make your way out there.
So I was here thinking that being homeless was probably a big nightmare because my understanding was okay, you had nowhere to sleep, you had no friends, you had no money, but it's all perspective because you were just in jail. You were
Yes.
excited to be free.
Yes, and yeah, and being a homeless in France for me was like, I mean, it was one already better than the life that I had before, you know, and yes, the perspective of thinking about the opportunity that I have in France of practicing the sport that I love and maybe chase my dream was stronger than everything. So I couldn't give that up for nothing. So for me, it was the best time. I was so happy. People was even like people was showing a mercy to me, like, oh, you're homeless, he might be rough, he might be this. I'm like, please, excuse me, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Like, you know, I came far, you know, and finally I get somewhere that I have the the opportunity, somewhere that I know is possible, even though I didn't have nothing, but I have a hope of having something. I have a hope of doing something. I have a hope of going somewhere. You know, there's a, like, you know, like seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, it was something like that. So no matter if you're barefoot or walking in the concrete barefoot, but the excitement, the emotion get you out of there. It get you high, and you don't realize a lot of difficulty that you are into at the moment.
Wow, I love that. Now, what did you learn about people being on the other side? You know, because your life has taken a 180 turn. You went from being sort of in a detention camp and being interrogated and then being homeless on the streets. And now you are the number one UFC heavyweight. I'm assuming going up for the title, which we'll talk about in a second. But what did you learn about people being on the other side?
Uh, you know, people are people. People are just how they are. You will find a good people mostly. You will find people who don't dare chase their dream. You will find people who would like to take over everything. I mean, you will meet every kind of people,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad. I think, but all that is necessary because good people helps you, bad people helps you as well to collect a life experience and to understand how things work, to learn from your mistake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you learn any tricks while you were living on the streets that you kind of still use today?
Mm, I think that tricks that I had, I learned from the time. I mean, I have a tricks from my past, from living in Morocco in the forest, from being in jail, and that hurt me while I was homeless. That hurt me to realize that there's always a bad, worse situation than what we have, you know. Um, and of course, even today, I can still lean on that tricks because when when uh, things uh, uh, when things go wrong, sometimes you can just think about it and realize that um, he could have been worse, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when things get better, you get when things are good, you can also realize that it can get better, you know. So that push you, that motivate you to move no matter what.
Mm. I read somewhere about your dreams. You had talked about, you know, at one point you're homeless and you don't have anything, and then you start to make money, and then you want and you need everything. And then, but the purpose is not collecting things. You said the purpose is to do something great, to finish the dream that you started. So at this point in time, where are you at in your dream?
Well, I'm moving on. I'm following. I'm chasing my dream. I'm still in the process of
Still in the
chasing my dream.
process. Yeah.
I
Okay.
haven't
So
accomplished it.
what are like
Yeah.
the top three things that you would like to achieve?
What is the top three thing?
Mhm.
The first one is to become a champion. The second one, I don't know. You know, my perspective about it is let the sky be the limit. I don't know. Whatever is possible on my way, I will just do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't set myself a boundary.
Okay, so you're going after the belt. Um, Dana has been very vocal about wanting you to be the next up for the belt against Stipe. So, how much of a reality is this? Do you think this is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean for sure. Why he it couldn't happen. I'm the number one contender. My last four fights has been all won in the first round, and then I think it's time. It's just time to go there. You
Yeah,
know, I prove it. I prove that I deserve it.
100%. I mean, you have a record of 18-3. I've seen you fight. You are a very scary.
15, 15-3,
Oh, I'm sorry. You
18-5.
have a record of 18 fights, 15-3. That's right.
Yeah.
You are a scary fighter. I mean, when you swing, it's like deadly. So I think that you are definitely the man for the job. I know Stipe put it out there that he wanted to fight someone new. But I mean, how does it work? Is it just kind of like if Dana pushes for it and you're up for it, do you think he would be down, or is there someone else in the lineup?
Well, I think according to the ranking, the champion has to fight the contenders, and there is not a contenders right now who deserve a championship than me.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, it's sort of an obligation. It's not like a peak, like up to him. Being as a contender, you can allow yourself to choose a fight, but as a champion, you just have to defend against the contender and the contenders who deserve it.
That's a good way of explaining it. Okay. I mean, and you are definitely worthy. You've had 5 UFC Performance of the Night awards and so many more awards altogether than anyone I've interviewed on the show so far. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, you are a beast. And I'm reflecting on your life, your story, at how determined you are. Like jail couldn't stop you, being homeless couldn't stop you. You made it all the way to number 1. I mean, you've only had 3 losses. So actually, in looking at your record, 11 of your wins were by knockout. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
What do you think this says about you as a fighter?
I think that's a good record. But now I don't focus much about my record. What I do is like just trying to do whatever is best and to give it all out there, and the outcome, you can't control it, and because sometimes if you're looking about your record, you can just be get chase the wrong target, serve the wrong purpose, yeah. You can get a bad record and still be a good fighter. You can have a good record and still haven't give a good version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm focused on, is to give the better version of myself than looking at my record.
Okay, but you have never been knocked out or submitted, and that's pretty crazy given that you've made your way up to the number 1 spot.
I'm knocking the wood.
Knocking wood, I'm knocking glass, I'm knocking everything for you. That's pretty damn cool. So what do you think this says about you as a fighter? That's very unique.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm just a fighter as everyone, and I still have a long career. So I will not step ahead now and say things, let's see how my careers go and how I discover myself, how I find another version of myself.
Okay, you're very humble. I love that. What happens when you get the title?
Life continue.
Life continues. You just keep fighting, and then you and then you defend
sunrise and sunset as every day.
Yeah.
You just move on another another dream, or make it bigger, because having a title is not something new. People has been having it a long time before you. What you can do is to chase something great, the greatness, and make it something unique. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely not winning the title.
What do you want your legacy to be? You've already made it to a very advanced level in the UFC, but if there had to be one statement made about you that the world is going to remember you by, what would it be?
I haven't think about that yet. I still have a long way to go. Mm-hmm. I see myself having a long life and accomplish a lot of things that I'm not even aware of right now.
Yeah.
That I can't even think about it right now.
You're only 34. I agree with you. I think you have so much time and the determination to complete a lot. There are underrated fighters in every weight class. You know, there are some that get a lot more media attention and just overall like are more popular. But then there are some fighters like Jack Hermanson mentioned Arnold Allen as being like one of the best fighters in his eyes, but super underrated. So who would you say that you can think of as one of the most underrated fighters?
In my weight class,
Yeah.
in my way in the heavyweight division, I would say probably Curtis Blade.
Mm. He was
Yeah,
your second fight in the UFC, right?
yeah, and he gave me a hard time. Like he was a wrestler that, but since our first fight, I found out that this guy understands. He understands striking, and then yes, I think he's underrated.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Francis, what would you say is your favorite
Hmm.
fight, the fight that you're most proud of so far?
My favorite fight,
Mm-hmm.
the fight that I'm so proud of.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, I don't know exactly about that. I know my first fight in the UFC, I was very happy about that. Um, then my second fight against Curtis Blade, I was also very happy about that because I came from two losses, so he was very good to come back with the W, you know,
Yeah.
to the W column. Yes, I was very happy for that one, especially that one. So there is a two fight. My
Yeah.
first UFC fight and my second fight against Curtis Blade.
How did you get your UFC contract? What promotions did you fight before? And then how did the UFC discover you?
I fight for different promotion out there in France. One in Switzerland and one in Bahrain, and yeah. Then after that, my coach was in contact with some manager, and that's how they work on that process to get me to get the UFC eyes on me.
Wow. It looks like you started training in 2013 and then you started fighting in the UFC in December 2015. So you really didn't have to put in much time. I mean, that's a pretty quick timeline.
Yes, it was 2 years. I started training exactly at in August 2013 in France,
Mm.
and for me, it was just like having fun because I love fighting, but I wanted to do boxing. Um, so MMA for me was just fun, you know. Yes, I love fighting, I love action, but there is not a classic boxing that I want to do.
Hmm. But then your coach convinced you to get into MMA.
I wasn't convinced until I think what really get me convinced was the UFC contract because even then, after 2 years, I was just doing it, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. Then I get the UFC contract, and then I started like, okay, this might be the opportunity that I've been looking for.
I mean, when I talk to guys on the show and I'm like, all right, how did you feel when you got your UFC contract? Some of them were like, oh man, I cried. I jumped up and down. My mom cried. How did you feel?
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, because I wasn't expect that, and I wasn't. For me, the UFC dream uh, has ever been something that I really want. People was telling me how I can do good in the UFC, but I was just like, whatever, you know, like keep doing. And then when they told me that I have my UFC contract, um, I think what get me more excited is about it. First of all, I have a fight because it wasn't easy to have a fight in France, in Europe. basically in France for me. So what crossed my mind at first was, okay, I have a fight. And then secondly, I'm going to get paid because yes, I needed it. I was there for 2 years. I didn't still haven't have my own house, trying to being a roommate somewhere, and I kept doing MMA by the time, just because I was getting a few bucks from fighting, and also I like fighting, yeah, but my mind wasn't set about the UFC until I get the UFC contract, and then I'm like, okay, I think I should get into this thing for real.
That's so crazy. Man, if you talk to anybody who's been on my show, they're like, I got the contract. If it wasn't like the contract alone, it was, the Contender Series. And so they kind of like, they were working towards that. Everybody was like, the UFC was my goal. And you're over here like, well, all right, I guess I'll do it. I mean, leave it to the number one heavyweight of the world.
Yeah, that exactly how I react, like, okay, that's cool. Well, and people was like, are you even realize what's going on? I'm like, what? They say, okay, you are a UFC fighter. I'm like, cool. Then what? So that was exactly me by the time.
That's so funny. Have you ever gotten into a street fight? Like, okay, I should say this. Since you have entered the UFC since 2015, have you ever gotten into a fight with someone like at a bar or in the street?
No. Before I have my UFC contract, I was in France and I was a bouncer. But even as a bouncer, I never really fight. I fought once as a bouncer, but because this guy was smoking in the club, and then I have to take him out of the club. I took him out of the club, and then he went out, and he was like upset about it. He waited me at the end of the club. He went somewhere at the street with his friend, and they waited me there. That's where I fought.
So it was 2 against 1?
It was more than 2. It was a lot of them.
Who won?
Well, one of my colleagues saw that and came, and he almost beat someone to death. I was like holding him, like, don't kill somebody, man.
Yeah.
Like, but we beat them up, and the police just came and arrest them, because we were working at the club, and the police around there, they know the situation, and we explained to them, like, okay, we were working there, this happened, and then they take our deposition, everything. So, and then they asked us if we want to suke. How do they say that?
Like press charges?
To complain.
Yeah.
Yes, to press charges about that, but we didn't. I mean, we just press. I think no. We press charges just to protect ourselves, because the police, they said, yes, if you don't press charges, and they press charges, you might be in the bad position, because they press charges first. So we just press that and stop it there.
Wow,
put it there and let it go.
Okay, so
that was the only first time.
The only time. Interesting. All right. I ask every fighter this question, and what's interesting for me, and I'm sure the listeners, is that every fighter answers it differently. So from your perspective, walk us through the differences between winning a fight versus losing a fight. And I don't just mean like, okay, yeah, winning is great and losing sucks, but there's so much pressure put on you guys, and it seems to me like you understand psychology very well with everything that you've been through in life, from jail to being homeless and your struggle to making it really to the top. you have the pressure from the fans, and then maybe the fans of your opponent, and then your friends and your family and your corner who's been busting their butt for you, you know, throughout your training camp, and your wife and kids. And so, you know, there's just so much. And then, you know, that every single fight that you fight is going to impact you either in one direction or another. It's, you know, going to affect your career. So now walk us through the differences pressure wise and thoughts that are going through your mind between winning versus losing.
I think if you're thinking about that way, like winning versus losing, is very stressful, you know. And I lost a fight once, and it was exactly because of those type of question. After my first fight against Stipe, I lost the fight, and I started to think exactly like that, and that's why the fight after that, the fight against Derek Lewis, I didn't fight because I was thinking like that instead of fight. I was overthinking. Then after that, I realized what truly count is how you give yourself up, how much you put in the fight. You know, you can't give your best and still have the not have the best out the good outcome. But as long as you give your best is the most important, because losing the fight without giving it all out there, I think that is the true loss. But if you lose after giving everything you get, it's okay. It's happened. It's a fight game. Everything can happen in the fight game. So I don't think like that anymore.
Yeah.
My only concern is, did I do everything that I should have done? I should have do. Yes, I have done all that I should. So if my question is yes, I'm in peace with myself, no matter what is the outcome. You know.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's how I see it. The
Yeah,
business.
you have a lot of
Mm.
self-control and you're wise. You know, there's I'm more and more I'm learning that fighters are talking to kind of like, they call them different things, but sports psychologists to kind of help them, you know, visualize the win and block out the negativity and the distractions and, you know, really focus. Jack Hermanson is
Mm.
one of those guys who's like a big supporter of sports psychology. I think that that's a really good approach. And several of the fighters who have been on the show said the same thing. They said, you know, look, if I gave it my all, the loss hurts less. But if I left something out there, then I have regret, and regret is the worst feeling. But a lot of them have talked about losing being a
Yep.
nightmare because it's so much pressure. You know, if you have a family, you go home and you know that your family's disappointed for you, and you have to like live with that. And then of course social media, people are very vocal with their opinions, and then that can get to you. And if you live in a small town, then you go to the grocery store and everybody's aware, and it's, you know, you're very high profile. So it's you can't hide.
Yes, but you have to know that, and then I think that that's why some people need who need psychologists. You have to know that it's a part of the business. You have to get prepared of that. You have to imagine that before, picturing that yourself there, even if you don't want to be there, but at least be aware that it can happen. You know. Um, we have some quote in France. I don't know how to say it in English, but he will say something like, always expect the best, but without always imagine the worst.
Hope for the best, but
You know,
prepare for the worst.
no, like, yes, something like that. Like, you will always fight for the best, for the win, but
Right.
also imagine that you can lose. You know, and it happens because it happens. there is not a true reason for losing.
There's
It's
no
just
true
a part
reason
of
for
the
losing.
business.
Part of the business. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you think it's possible to be 100% undefeated forever?
I don't think so. Sometimes I will pick a fighter who have lose than a fighter which is undefeated, because the fighter that have lose fight, he has a different approach, and he understand a little bit better than a fighter who haven't lose yet, you know. So because you can also learn from your lose, and when you lose, you learn more from it. But when you win, I'm like, okay, I'm the man, party, everything, excitement, celebration. But when you lose, it take you down and make you think about what's went wrong, and then from there you can figure out what's. So I think from losing will get you better than winning.
That's exactly what I've heard.
But yes, even though nobody want to win, nobody want to lose, everybody want to win.
Yeah.
But somebody at some point have to lose, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
What is the biggest celebration you've done after a win? You go to to the clubs, you pop bottles, or like shopping sprees. What does Francis do when he wins?
You know, and I think that is my problem. I never really celebrate a win like that, like a big thing. I'm very happy about it, but life moves on. You know, when you finish the fight and you win, you drop down, depression drops down. Then you realize, you know, it was just another fight, and you have to move on. You know, so what I can do for myself is to take a time off, to let him go, because you have to take a fight as a job, as a part time of your life, as something that you're doing for living, instead of something that you're living to do. You know, so then that helps you to let depression go. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my own way to do. Yeah, I'll just travel and go back home, take time off, you know, cut off everything about fighting, just relax and get back to my life with my family in my country, with my root, just like simple life. You know, that's my own way to enjoy and to celebrate.
I love that. Back to basics. Now, because there was a period of time, really your entire life, you didn't make much money. And then you've gotten to the point where your career, you're doing really well, you're making money now. Do you have a hard time making big purchases because you want to save everything just in case you end up, not having money again?
I can make big purposes if it's necessary. I mean, I don't just I don't like unnecessary purpose, you know, because at some point I found myself just buying stuff. Then I realized I don't need all those things. Like,
Yeah.
okay, since I have the money in my bank, okay, let's buy this. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is great. I love this. Okay, what were you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
Don't know. And then, you know, that's the kind of thing that I kind of avoid. But if it's necessary, I will do it. You know, I spend my money. I use it for my family. When I go back home, I spend a lot of money. But at the meantime, I can buy something, even though he will cost uh, $500, because I don't found that necessary. But when something is necessary, you put the price.
So what's your favorite junk food, Francis?
I think everybody like a bad food, because bad food is unfortunately what tastes good,
Yeah.
like what people get excited about it. Like you people will say, oh, I love cookies. Oh, I love chocolate. Oh,
Yeah.
I would love to eat, some steak and this today, some hamburger. But you never see somebody like, oh, I'm excited. I'm going to eat some salad this weekend, or I'm going to eat some broccoli. You never
Yeah.
see people say that, right?
Yeah. That's funny.
I never see somebody like, oh, I'm so excited. I have my salad that I'm going to eat. Wow, I can't wait until I get back home. No, you never hear stuff like that.
So you were a Mike Tyson fan when you were younger. Are you still a fan of his?
Of course, what you ask, are you still a fan of it?
Okay, so we are definitely Mike Tyson fans over here. Got it. So what do you think about him fighting at age 54?
Well, you know, um, I don't know much about that, but when I see his training, he looks pretty good.
Do you have any words of wisdom that you can share with the listeners? And it doesn't have to be fight related, but you seem like a very wise man who's been through a lot in life. What advice do you have for people who are trying to follow their dreams?
Oh, kick the negativity out. Don't listen to people who are negative, because you will find a lot of people out there who tell you what will work and what will not work for you. What is this? As they know everything, they don't know shit. Only God know, and then because sometimes their proper life is not set as an example. So why do somebody would tell you that you cannot do it? When his own life is not a proof of success or of wisdom, And then just chase your dream. Everybody is allowed to fail, as long as you keep trying, giving it all. That's what matters. For me, succeed is not like get what you wanted, but to do your best to get what you wanted, even though you don't have it. But as long as you give it all, I would still consider that as a success, because you can be in peace with yourself. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. You just have to get up and keep going. And your story.
Keep going no matter what.
Keep going no matter what. I love it. That's great advice for me. Very inspirational. Thank you, Francis, for coming on the Jenna Ben Show. Give us your Instagram handle so people know how to find you.
Oh, my Instagram is Francis Ngannou.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Just your name. Okay. And
yes, I want to give a shout out to my coaches too, Eric Nixick, the Black Cobra, Dewey, and my teammate and everyone out there, my fans. I'll give a big shout out, and thank you for all the support.
Oh, you are such a sweetheart. Okay, when I come to Vegas, I'm going to come by Extreme or something. Hopefully Uriah will be in town too, and then we can all catch up. Or Eric, I owe Eric a lunch too. So it'll be great to meet in person. And if you have anything that you want to contribute to the studio and sign for me, I would love it. No pressure. Thank you very much, Francis. I'm going to shoot you a follow on Instagram right now. And guys, you can find me on Instagram at The Jenna Ben Show. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week. Y'all keep me going in this crazy grind. I love you guys, and we'll see you next week.